Hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. Great to have you along with me today. I want to talk about a very, very important story. This is about race baiting. I don't know if you heard the story about this Frisco teenager, two of them, in fact, Frisco, Texas, just up the road from where I broadcast from, stabbed in the heart at a track meet. The victim is Austin Metcalf. Austin Metcalf, of course, is white. The alleged killer, who police say admitted to stabbing Austin Metcalf in the heart, is black. We are told they both come from decent homes up the road in Frisco. It's just a suburb of Dallas, not a rough city by any means. Carmello Anthony is the accused killer. Now, Carmello Anthony, I assume named after the former NBA star, only he spells his name with a K, was sitting in an area of the stadium where this track meet was going on. Austin Metcalf, as you see there, was a football track star. Austin Metcalf approaches him. Here's what we know for a fact happened. Austin Metcalf tells him to move, tells Carmello Anthony to move. How much they got into it, how much Austin Metcalf put hands on Carmello Anthony, the stories differ. Here's what I can tell you, though. No matter how much somebody puts hands on you, in a high school setting, at a track meet, even a bully, nothing, and I mean nothing justifies, in my opinion, stabbing someone in the heart. Now, Carmello Anthony said it was in self-defense. There's a lot of witnesses that say otherwise. This is about hot-headedness. This is about thug-like life culture. What I do not believe it is about race, because I believe Carmello Anthony would have stabbed a black kid in the heart if the black kid told him to move from his seat. I don't think this is about race, but now we have the race baiters everywhere making this about race. You will not believe that someone accused of stabbing a 17-year-old in the heart over being told to move his seat at a stadium now is raised, I think it's over $100,000 on GoFundMe pages in his defense. And Austin Metcalf, a white kid, is being called a white supremacist who deserved it. Folks, what kind of society do we live in that we are at a point in time like this where people are claiming that they deserved it? To me, it's disgusting that we are at this point. All right. We're going to talk about this. We're going to get into Trump's tariffs. We're going to get into my body language segment we're going to play. And, of course, leftist violence, which is happening all across this country over Elon Musk. We're going to get into all of that today. But first, let's get the show started. Before I do that, I want to tell you folks about my friends over at Colonial Metals. Boy, if ever there was a time where you think there's uncertainty in the world, now is it. Look, I'm all for what President Trump is trying to do, but I will have to tell you, it does mean there's uncertainty. How long will the tariffs last? What's behind them? What's going on with them? All of this leads me to believe that with the uncertainty, gold is a great place to be. And by the way, gold has continued to rise through all of this craziness when we're having stock market, unrest. freegoldguide.com/Grant. That's the website to go to. You could get up to $7,500 in free silver right now, depending on how much you invest with Colonial Metals. This is one reason why I love them. The other reason why I love them is because I trust them. A lot of gold companies come to me to say, hey, Grant, pitch us on your program. I've chosen Colonial Metals because I've vetted them for you. ColonialMetalsGroup.com. Now, how much is right to invest? You've got to talk to them about that. That's a decision for you. But again, the QR code on your screen, freegoldguide.com/Grant. That's the website you should visit. Download the free gold guide. Just do that and start the process of looking at just how well you can do with this. freegoldguide.com/Grant. Colonial Metals Group is the place to be. freegoldguide.com/Grant. All right, with that now, folks, let's start the program.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Grant Stinchfield here. So this story of Austin Metcalf, if you can believe right now that this individual is now has a GoFundMe page, okay, that has raised over, I don't know, $100,000. I picked this. This was early on. People starting GoFundMe pages for Carmello Anthony, the man accused, boy accused of stabbing Austin Metcalf. I think Carmello Anthony's around the same age, 16, 17 years old. Stabbing Austin Metcalf in the heart over being told to move inside the track meet. Now, who brings a knife to a track meet? I don't understand this. Where are the parents here to say, no, my son is almost 16. He'll be 16 in a month or so. I would like to hope and pray he would never think about bringing a knife to a track meet or anywhere else for that matter, unless we're going hunting. So Carmello Anthony decides to stab Austin Metcalf in the heart. He says it was in self-defense. I actually believe thug life mentality played a role in all of this. And then you have GoFundMe pages like this that glob onto this to want to defend somebody who stabbed somebody in the heart. This is indefensible in my mind. And it's becoming now about race. And I don't understand why it's becoming about race. I want to show you a GoFundMe page. Look at this. This is a Facebook page. And when you look at what is written on here, you've got to say to yourself, what in the world? How do you come to this conclusion? Tariq Nasheed writes, a suspected white supremacist named Austin Metcalf, pictured with his twin, allegedly demanded honor student Carmello Anthony. Do you see the race baiting here? Give up his seat. It was like the Jim Crow era. Carmello defended himself from the alleged threat. The Daniel Penny case set this precedent. Daniel Penny, remember the Good Samaritan on a train that stopped a homeless man from wreaking havoc on people. Ultimately, the homeless man died. Daniel Penny set free. Thankfully, the jury found him not guilty. This is so far from that. You know, I saw Carmello Anthony's the Rosa Parks of today. Rosa Parks didn't turn and stab anybody in the heart. Now, how you come up to the conclusion that Austin Metcalf was a white supremacist, I have no idea. They show a picture of him. Now, the right is guilty of this, too. They show a picture of Austin Metcalf and his twin brother, who watched his brother die in his arms, by the way, in camo. Those look like paintball guns to me. There's nothing wrong with kids playing paintball and dressed in camo. But they want to portray them as these, just these violent white supremacist thugs wearing camo. And then, of course, there's Carmello Anthony in a shirt and tie. But it goes both ways. I mean, look, here's from those on the right that show football star Austin Metcalf and then show Carmello Anthony with a gun and his mugshot giving the camera the finger. I mean, again, why can't we just cover the story the way it needs to be covered, and that what leads a young man, 16, 17, 18 years old, to decide that it's in his best interest to stab someone in the heart against his alleged bully, which is what Austin Metcalf is accused of doing. Austin Metcalf may have been bullying him. He did not deserve to die over this. Okay? And that's the bottom line. So this is how the local news media has been covering the story.
Jeff Metcalf somehow found the strength to speak with us late this afternoon about his son, 16-year-old Austin Metcalf, sharing memories of this remarkable young man and a heart-wrenching detail about what happened behind me this morning.
The sad part about it is he died in his brother's arms. They were twins, identical twins. And his brother was holding on to him, trying to make it stop bleeding. And he died in his brother's arms. And I rushed up there, and I saw him on the gurney. And I could tell. They said he wasn't breathing. I could see all the blood. I saw where the wound was.
Understandably still in shock, Jeff Metcalf says a precious memory was made just this past weekend when he took his twin boys hunting. That's where Austin got his first hog. Well, this morning at around 10, he rushed here to Kirkendall Stadium, where the Memorial High School student athlete suffered a fatal stab wound during this track and field meet. Frisco police say a fight broke out between two students when one stabbed the other. More than 100 student athletes were participating in this meet. Fortunately, they were safely evacuated. Police arrested the suspect. He is 17-year-old Carmello Anthony of Frisco. He is now charged with murder. Some students.
All right, so, here you have this situation. It's clear it never should have happened. Someone raised to me, where were the metal detectors? I raised beyond the metal detectors. Where in the world are the parents? Now, is it a situation that thug life glorifies this? Whether you're from inner city or whether you're from the suburbs, if you're a young black man in America today, right, or a young black teen in America today, and you see everywhere on the mainstream media that thug life is glorified, whether it's in video games and Grand Theft Auto, whether it's rap music, whether it's the entertainment industry, is your first inclination to go straight to violence because that's what a thug would do? Maybe. And then what's the chance of this happening with a rich white kid if you live in California or Beverly Hills? You run the same chance of this happening with a rich white kid as you do with an inner city black kid. Now, this apparently was a suburban black kid. So if you're going to ask a race question here, is the thug life more appealing to black kids than it is to white kids? Maybe. I think you probably do still have some white kids that are trying to glorify the thug life. And I think if you take an inner city look at this, because of the lack of parents, because of the lack of God, because of the lack of law enforcement in these inner cities, take it outside of this, they will resort to violence first. I mean, let's face it. Highland Park, Texas is the wealthiest, fanciest town outside of Dallas. You don't have drive-by shootings happening in Highland Park, Texas with young teen white kids. But you do in some parts of Dallas where there are black and Hispanic kids. Is that a socioeconomic thing? Does it have to do with race? I actually believe it has to do with money more than race and a lack of religion and a lack of fathers in the household and those type of things, which happen to be common among poor minority communities. I'll be called a racist for saying these things. I'm literally just pointing out reality. My buddy Jack Brewer, former NFL player, has been so great about speaking out about these kind of issues. He weighed in on Fox News about this story. I'm going to have him on the Real America's Voice show tonight, and I'm looking forward to that. But I thought I'd play this for you.
Of them, man, just grew up. They never had a dad in their life, and they had these influences that had them doing evil things all around them. But you look at this young boy right here, man, play football like I did, grew up, and clearly a child of God. His last tweet, I'm going to read it for you. His last tweet sent just a week ago, not even a week ago, 3-4 days ago. Faith that God got me and my work will pay off. It's his last tweet. So I got a message for his family. Philippians 1:21 says, to live is Christ and to die is gain. And that child of God right there is in heaven. And we got to stop this evilness in this country, Todd. We got to figure out a way to get to these kids, man. We have an epidemic on our hand in this nation. We have almost 18 million fatherless kids, and they are ravishing this nation. They are harassing our streets, and it doesn't matter what policies we pass. It doesn't matter whatever we want to do politically. None of that stuff matters if we don't get particularly to these young boys, these young black boys. Get to these young black boys, and let's get them right, man.
All right, so I'm going to play a little bit more of Jack Brewer there. And it is true, and even Jack, in some respects, is making it about race, that maybe blacks and minorities are more prone to jump to the idea of violence overwhelmingly more than white kids are. And again, I'll be labeled a racist for this, but I'm literally looking at statistics that would prove this to be true. Black people make up 12% of the population, yet they're accused of more than half of the murders in this country. Is that in a situation because they're black, or is it their socioeconomic background? Is it because of lack of fathers in religion? I would argue, of course, the latter. I don't think it has anything to do with the color of anybody's skin. I think it has to do with how you are raised. And an epidemic in this country is exactly what we are talking about. Let me tell you before we continue with Jack Brewer about my friends over at get20now.com. If you want to make an investment, get 20% interest annualized on your money and get paid that interest monthly, then get20now.com is for you. I've made a sizable investment with them. This is about Bitcoin mining. It's about taking in a part of the Bitcoin craze, but not having to be subject to the wild swings. Right now, you see where the stock market is. I don't think there's a better time in America today than be investing in Bitcoin in this manner. This is locked in contractually up to 20% interest on your money. Talk to them about the deal structures. It's fabulous. I'm considering investing more money with them, especially with what I'm seeing going on with the stock market. Get20now.com. Up to 20% annualized interest on your investment paid monthly. They deposit it into my account every month. Like clockwork. I will tell you this. The guys over there have lived up to their promises to me. They're readily available to me for questions, whatever I need. They've been fabulous. So go online, fill out the form. They will contact you, and it's not going to be some sales guy. It's one of the leaders of this company, and they're great, and they're fun to talk to, too, by the way. So if they leave a message, call them back, all right? Get with them. You will not regret it, okay? Get20now.com, up to 20% annualized interest on your investment, paid out monthly. Direct deposit in your account. You can't beat that. Get20now.com. All right, more of Jack Brewer.
Fix this nation. The black men in this nation have been through so much, and right now we have a bunch of them out there ravaging the streets, and we got to come together as one nation and one blood and do something about it. These boys need help. These boys need fathers, and our families need to get put back together so we can all pursue the American dream.
Jack, it does appear that the young man who allegedly committed this crime did have a father. The father did speak to the media. So does it go beyond just fatherlessness?
It's a culture. It's a culture.
How do we change that, though?
You got to take Todd, you put music into these kids' ears that's encouraging them to do this. They turn on the TV and they see this. Everywhere they look, Todd, this is becoming normalized. Normalized. They talk about death and destruction. We degrade our women by what we put in our hair and what comes out of our mouth, the power of the tongue, just like the Bible teaches us. So he may have had a father, but his father need a wake-up call this morning, because I can tell you right now, if Jack Brewer's son did anything beyond this and even spoke this, I'd have my foot in his butt. And so being there present as a father is one thing, but actually being a father is another thing. And so it falls on the parents. Parents in this nation need to take responsibility for their children. And we need a wake-up call in this country. And I hope President Trump stands and speaks to the nation about this, because I'm telling you one thing. Unfortunately, if it was a different race doing this to another race, we'd have people riding in the streets.
Well, isn't that the truth? And so it's an interesting question. Should President Trump talk about this crime? You know, he's going to instantly be labeled a racist if he talks about this crime. But when this crime first happened, I want to show you something. We looked for the victim's name, Austin Metcalf. When this first happened on the New York Times, Austin Metcalf, no results. The mainstream media doesn't want to talk about this story because a black teen killed a white teen. It doesn't fit the narrative. If it was the other way around, this would be the #1 story inside the mainstream media. On MSNBC, no results for Austin Metcalf. Now, again, that's the New York Times. That's MSNBC. No results. How about CNN? No results. CNN, Austin Metcalf. These are the results of what race baiting in America gets you. The mainstream media will cover up black on white crime. They will blow out of proportion white on black crime, all to sow chaos between us, when I promise you, black people in America today, white people in America today do not want this violence. They want peace and they want calmness, but it's the mainstream media that stokes the violence. And, you know, Jack Brewer brought up the idea of the music that we're feeding our children. TV shows, video games, all of this stuff glorifying violence today. Now, I'm not saying outlaw this stuff, but I'm saying parents need to take an active role about talking to their kids about what's acceptable and what's not acceptable when it comes to this stuff, so we don't have something like this being played on TV.
And then I saw him about to fall. I went to go over there. I grabbed him. I see. Frisco.
Yeah, I understand. Best I can to understand.
Yeah, there was. You can see. You can picture what happened when what was coming out of his chest, and
yeah.
Y'all can visualize other stuff. I don't want to put down my mom right now, but I pushed my hand on there, trying to make it stop, and I grabbed his head and I looked in his eyes. I just saw his soul leave, and it took my soul too.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to ask you one last question. I've seen interviews with your husband, who I can hear in the side, by the way. I think he's there in the room with you. I saw an interview last night. Okay, someone else. Yes, okay.
Yes, sir.
But I have seen interviews with your husband in the last 24 hours, and it was remarkable to me that I heard your husband say, within hours of this, that he forgave this other young man, and he got there so quickly. And I honestly don't know that I could, and I just want to see, and I don't know if there's a right or a wrong place to be, especially as quickly as this has happened. Megan, how do you feel on that front today?
I am not like their dad. I am so angry at that boy. It's just not fair. That's all I have.
I understand.
I'd like to say it's forgave, not forgotten, but I'm not at that point yet to forgive that kid for what he did to my brother. Because, 17 years, my best friend just there and didn't blink of an eye. I lost him. So I'm not at that point.
I don't blame them. I'm not at that point either, and I didn't even know the young man. I can't forgive at this point. It is amazing people that can. I've watched that, and I saw that interview with the father. I'll play a little clips of the father here in a second. But it's amazing. I'm looking at the Rumble chat, and Broadcast Network, who's here a lot. Bullshit, Grant, sorry, don't fall victim to these divisive narratives. 100% Mexican, born in Dallas, Texas, and I'm MAGA. Own a gun, good person, I am an American. By no means am I saying that all Mexicans and all blacks are embracing the thug life. I'm not saying that. But I do believe that minorities, especially in impoverished communities, are more susceptible to embracing the thug life than white kids in wealthy communities. And that's just a fact. Otherwise, we'd see drive-by shootings in wealthy communities by white kids. We don't see that. You ever go to inner city Chicago? It's not white kids running around shooting each other up. That's not the epidemic we face in America today. The epidemic we face in America today is black on black crime and Hispanic on Hispanic crime. It is not black on white crime or white on black crime. Okay? It's black on black, Hispanic on Hispanic, or vice versa. So this was an anomaly in many respects. But it is a sign to me that people are quick to jump to violence because of that thug life mentality. And Broadcast Network's right. My parents got divorced when I was 7 or so. I'm still MAGA. I can also have something to do with enemy brainwash and enemy manipulation. Maybe I'm not really sure what you're saying there, but I believe somebody like you, if you grew up in the hood, you're MAGA now, you didn't have a father, I believe you're the exception, not the rule. And I'm proud of you for escaping the mentality that's pushed on our kids inside the hood. And you can tell me that I'm racist. You can tell me that I'm pushing a divisive narrative. I'm not. I don't want any kid in America today to put his head on his pillow and hear gunshots outside their bedroom window. But in America today, that's exactly what happens to young minorities, to kids who live in the inner city. They have to go to sleep hearing gunshots, not knowing if their brother is going to come home at night. That's not happening in American white suburbs today. It is happening in American inner cities. So what's the difference there? I'm not saying it's race. What I'm saying is the difference is money. The difference is broken households. The difference is a lack of religion. The difference is not being taught to respect life. The difference is a total embrace of thug culture. Total embrace where it's glorified. And that your head that's not developed yet, and I don't believe any 16, 17, 18-year-old's brains are developed yet, goes to the point, I'm going to stab somebody in the heart and think that's a good decision. Your brain cannot be developed in order to think that is a good decision. It's not. So this is the father that Will Cain was talking about. Listen.
It's very unfortunate that this other child decided to make a bad choice that's going to affect him for the rest of his life. I have compassion for every human being. This is not, I want to make this very clear. This is not a race issue. This is not a black and white issue. I don't want someone stepping up on a soapbox trying to politicize this. I don't appreciate some of the remarks I've seen online that people say there was this fight and they don't know. They weren't there.
Well, those people are people like Tariq Nasheed, who writes a suspected white supremacist allegedly demanded honor student Carmello Anthony, and he defended himself. That post right there that you're looking at on your screen, that's the race baiting that is going on. Is anybody surprised that this has turned into an issue of race? It should be a conversation about how young people turn to violence so quickly. That's the conversation that needs to be had. And I saw a Facebook group from a friend of mine. She's a liberal, but she was pushing about how we have to feel so sorry for the alleged killer in this. And I say alleged only because he's not convicted yet, but he admitted to police, that he's the one who did it. Cop says on the radio, I've got the alleged killer. And the kid said, I'm not alleged, I did it. He now claims in self-defense. I want to make that clear over and over again. But, you know, boy, oh boy, it's about as sad as it gets, and it shows you what a state we are in America where we have kids that are turning to violence like this. So we'll continue to follow this story. The mainstream media doesn't want you to hear it at all. And we'll also talk about President Trump's tariffs here in just a second. But I want to tell you about my friends over at EnergizedHealth.com. EnergizedHealth.com/Grant. I love these guys. It's about intercellular hydration. I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. No supplements, no crazy diet, no crazy workout plan. Was there some things I changed around on those fronts? Yes. But this is about getting your cells hydrated at a cellular level, turning your organs from a raisin into a grape, filled and hydrated, so they can do what they need to do, flushing the system out. Now, it's not just about chugging water. There's a way to get your cells hydrated, and that's what Energized Health is all about. Add in the very easy workout, add in the very easy nutritional system that they have in place, and you're going to lose weight. You're going to lose it fast, whether you need to lose 200 pounds or, like me, 15 pounds to just tighten it all up and feel better. I believe my mind is sharper. I believe my skin is better. My testosterone levels are up. My cholesterol level is down. My visceral fat is down. My body fat is down. My muscle mass is up. So it's not really even about losing weight. It's about gaining muscle mass and losing fat. That's the difference in this program. EnergizedHealth.com/Grant. Pay them a visit today. If you want big changes and in a not so difficult fashion that is a game changer when it comes to your life, this is it. EnergizedHealth.com. I went through it, so I speak from experience. EnergizedHealth.com/Grant. All right, let's check at this point in time. It is 12:30 Eastern time, right? Dow Jones today. Down 625 points. That's about, it came back about half of what it lost on the open. That's good news. But everybody is still concerned about these tariffs, including President Trump. Okay? Here he is.
There pain in the market at some point you're unwilling to tolerate this idea of a Trump put? Is there a threshold?
I think your question is so stupid. I mean, I think I don't want anything to go down. But sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something. And we have such a horrible, we have been treated so badly by other countries because we had stupid leadership that allowed this to happen. They took our businesses, they took our money, they took our jobs, they moved it to Mexico, they moved it to Canada, they moved a lot of it to China, and it's not sustainable. We're not going to do it. Now we have hundreds of billions of dollars is pouring into our country on a monthly basis. It's pouring, it's already started because they put tariffs on. And eventually it's going to straighten out and our country will be solid and strong again.
I do believe him, but don't let me take away from the fact that, as Bill Clinton would say, I feel your pain. I do, because I'm experiencing the same pain. I have not looked at my stock portfolio since all of this happened early next week. I'm not looking at it. Doesn't do me any good to look at it because I'm a invest for the long-term investor here. I'm not an invest for the short-term. I'm not trading. I do have an account. I do trade short-term investments in the stock market, but that's separate from all of this. My big account is the one that I want to be there long-term, and I'm going to ride this out because I think in the end, none of the fundamentals have changed here. It's not like these companies all of a sudden reported losses. It's not like these companies reported hiring new CEOs that are no good or the markets have changed. And let me explain this to you. My sister, who lives in Ojai, California, called me and she ended up hanging up the phone on me. Now, she's a Make America Great Again conservative. She really is. But she's a newbie to the conservative world, and in many respects, tariffs are a new phenomenon in the conservative world. We didn't always agree on these, and I've got some issues with them, but I'm going to give President Trump the great leeway because, truthfully, he knows better than I do. I'm pretty smart, but President Trump has been right about everything. Why would I question him now? But she said she called, and she says, Grant, I have a friend who has a skateboard company. And the CEO, and they make a lot of skateboards apparently, the CEO is so worried about going out of business because they get their parts for the skateboards from overseas. They might make some skateboards overseas. I don't know. But they're so concerned about these tariffs that they say they're going to have to raise their prices. They're going to have to go out of business. And what I try to explain to her is market conditions right now are going to be the same for every company in America. So if you have another manufacturer who's making skateboards and they too buy their parts from China, they are under the same pressures that the other company is from. So if one company has to raise prices, the other company is going to have to raise prices because of parts coming from China that now cost more. Now, China may eat some of those tariffs. We shall see how that plays out. So right now, the market conditions are the same. One company versus another company, everybody's got to buy their parts from the same places. The only place a company gains a market advantage is if they make their products here and they build their products here. They have an advantage over you now than if you get all your parts from China. I would assume these skateboard manufacturers are not building or getting all of their parts in America. I would bet every single one of them, ball bearings, rubber for the wheels, the tires, the stain, whatever it may be, stuff is coming from China. If there's a company that's making everything here in the United States, the situation was to give that company not only just a leg up, but to force the other companies to bring back manufacturing here. Now, the reason those other companies would do it is because they can now raise their prices to buy American goods. If that's ultimately what has to happen, you've got to raise your, but the American company already had prices that were high. So now you're still competing on an even playing field. Market conditions are the same for everybody with these tariffs. It doesn't mean you're going to go out of business. You could ask the question, well, are nobody going to buy skateboards anymore because they go up 15% or 10%? I don't think you're going to see anything increase more than that. I think the other nations will eat some of the tariff. The consumers may eat some of the tariff. So if you buy a $200 skateboard and it goes up $20, is that going to stop you from buying a skateboard? I don't think it does. Now you buy a $200,000 car that goes up $20,000. It might stop you from buying that car. And you know what else it might do? It might force Mercedes to bring the manufacturing here to the United States. So again, market conditions even. We've got to remember that. And people are forgetting about that. They're just freaking out. Nothing really changes under this.
You've got to realize this is a national security issue. I mean, we don't make medicine in this country anymore. We don't make ships. We don't have enough steel and aluminum to fight a battle, right? All our semiconductors are made overseas, so every button we press when we try to start our car or even use our microwave, these are all semiconductors. They're all made elsewhere. We've got to start to protect ourselves, and we've got to stop having all the countries of the world ripping us off. We have a $1.2 trillion trade deficit, and the rest of the world has a surplus with us. They're earning our money. They're taking our money.
Right.
And Donald Trump has seen this, and he's going to stop it. So it is going to be a big change. Of course it's going to be a big change, but the rest of the world has been ripping us off for all these many years. Donald Trump has seen it. He's spoken about it.
I understand
and he's just not going to take it anymore, and that's his model.
And that's the model that it should be. We've been taken advantage of for so long. So look at what has happened today. It's Monday. This was just announced last week. And what do we have already? We've got Thailand saying they're going to drop taxes. We've got Vietnam, who had almost 100% tariffs on us, now saying they want to come to the table and talk, possibly do away with all of it. We've got Israel that says, you know what, tariffs on the United States, we're not going to charge you anymore. We're sorry, Mr. President, you're right. We've got over 50 countries. Thailand's another one. India, huge. Japan, huge. Say, you know what? We're going to negotiate with you. We buy a lot of stuff from India, Vietnam, Japan. All of this is great news. Now, the markets need to realize this. 50 countries already said, we'll negotiate, Mr. President. That is a good thing. We're not going to be taken advantage of anymore. And we ought to be tired of being taken advantage of. Because when you think about the situation of what we face now, we face a deficit of $2 trillion. Elon Musk is getting hold of that, okay? We face debt of $36 trillion. President Trump is going to get hold of that. Some of the money we raise from tariffs ought to go to pay down our debt and do a lot of things. President Trump has to cut taxes, though. We now have members of Congress in the Republican-controlled Senate talking about raising corporate taxes. Are you freaking kidding me? What Republican in his right mind would talk about raising taxes? Have you lost where you are? The reason you cut taxes, like no tax on Social Security, like no tax on tips, lowering the corporate tax rate, let them have more money to invest. This is all going to spur more taxpayers into the system, ultimately. You've got to have faith that this stuff works. Go let entrepreneurs do their thing and unleash this country. Now, with that said, do I wish that President Trump would have done the tax cuts first, then the tariffs? Yes. I know it takes longer, and I know he wanted to hold true to his promises, but I think if you would have done the tax cuts first, you would have solidified some of that certainty in the market. You would have seen that investment would have been spurred. Then you do the tariffs, and it would have mitigated some of the freak out that we're seeing over the tariffs. And what we're seeing over the tariffs, folks, is most certainly a freak out job. And it's sad that it's a freak out job, but it is. Have you seen this guy, Eli? I think it's Elie Mystal. Elie Mystal, I don't know. He looks ridiculous. He's got a white afro like you've never seen before, and he spews nonsense even more ridiculous than his haircut. Here he is talking about doing away with the Constitution. Do you see what they're up against and what we're up against? He wants to do away with every voter registration law. Now, he later says, oh, I'm okay with requirements for voting. I'll play some of that for you. We'll play a little bit of this clown. I'm okay with requirements for voting, but I don't want anyone to have to register. You just show up. So it's just going to be the honor system? of whether or not you're eligible to vote or not? Come on. And he says this document, this is our United States Constitution. Declaration of Independence is in here. The Constitution is in here. And all of the amendments to the Constitution are in here. You see how thin this is? It's a very, very simple document. Now, it really amazes me that the United States Congress can't write laws as simple as the Constitution is. In my opinion, next to the Bible, this is the greatest document ever written. Is it perfect? No. I wish they would have put term limits in for Congress. I really do. It's really one of the only changes that I see in here. I wish they would have left out a well-armed militia out of the Second Amendment. We've had to have that interpreted, and it now means that the people are the militia. But I wish they would have just left that out. A couple changes I would have liked, but for the most part, this document has the answer to everything in it. Why would you want to change this? What needs to be changed? Of course, he wants to do away with the Second Amendment. I'm sure he wants to do away with the First Amendment because that's what they're after. So this is what we see from this guy. Here he is again.
Okay, so like what?
Well, we could eliminate all voter registration laws. See, when Democrats get in charge, we try to protect voting rights. We don't make voting easier. Now, I'm all for voter eligibility requirements. We might disagree about what those requirements should be, but, I'm going to say that, there should be an age limit to vote. I might say 16, you might say 18, but I'm not going to say 8. Right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to agree that there should be voter eligibility requirements. But once you're eligible, why do you have to pre-register? Why is that even a thing? It wasn't a thing in this country at the founding. We didn't have voter pre-registration in 1787. We didn't have voter pre-registration in 1821. We only started having voter registration, generally speaking, after the Civil War. Why do you think that is? It's because a bunch of freed African slaves were migrating up north, and all of a sudden New York was like, we need some registration up in here, right?
No, do you not understand? It has nothing to do with race. And again, with this asshole, everything comes back to race. The reason you need to register to vote is because you need to know who's voting. Now, in 17 whatever, we don't have the same situations that we have today, especially after Joe Biden opened up the borders. And if people are moving from Virginia to New York, don't New Yorkers need to know how long have you been here? Are you a citizen? Are you just vacationing here? Are you up here on business? It has nothing to do with black or white. It has to do with a country that's growing and travel that was growing. The invention of trains now to bring you from the south to the north, or the north to the south. You got to know who's there. Now, this is not outrageous to have to register to vote. And in fact, in most states, I don't know, I think it's probably all, you can register to vote when you sign up for your driver's license. That easy. Now, I wish you'd have to show a passport or proof of citizenship in order to vote. And that's what the SAVE Act is all about. And that's what Congress is working on. But this clown's not going to support that.
A bunch of immigrants from Europe, mainly Ireland and Italy, were coming to New York. People were like, oh, we need some registration in here. If you're eligible to vote, you should be automatically registered to vote. And that is how they do it everywhere else but us. Everywhere else but us either has automatic registration or some other form of forced registration for everybody so that you don't have this disconnect between eligible voters and registered voters. That's the first law in the book that we could change.
Oh, shut up. I mean, literally, these people are off of their rockers. All they want to do is open up the voter roll so a Republican can never win again. Do I dare play one more from this clown? Security there because he's going to be arrested. He's going to be snatched up for speech issues. My Lord. Is this guy nuts? The people that have been arrested relating to their speech have been people that are pushing the idea that Hamas is good, that Jews are bad, that they've embraced the terrorist notion of Hamas in the Middle East. They've blocked traffic. They've destroyed property. All these people have pushed chaos in America. Those people have been scooped up because we don't want them here, and they're here at the pleasure of the United States, not at their own pleasure. They get a visa because they've proved they would be a welcome addition to America. If you're supporting terrorism in America and pushing the idea of terrorism and hate in America, we don't want you here, okay? This guy is a United States citizen. He has a right to say whatever he says. I don't care that he spews this stuff on the Breakfast Club and goes on MSNBC Morning Joe and spews. I could care less. I'm going to arrest him over it. Say anything you want about Elon Musk. Elon Musk isn't going to arrest you either. Elon Musk has opened up free speech on X, Twitter. The left doesn't open up free speech. They claim they have. It's not even close. I'm still so suppressed. Let's just check my Facebook channel. Oh, wow, 10 whole viewers live. Thank you, by the way, if you're watching on Facebook. Make sure you like the page and subscribe. For all of you watching on Rumble, please like and subscribe to the page as well. We do way better there. Way better on Getter. Why? Because it's an open platform. Facebook censors you. It's not right. It really isn't. All right, folks, let me tell you about my friends over at Patriot Mobile. I want you to go to patriotmobile.com/Grant. I want you to do it right now. I want you to switch your cell phone provider, the service provider, to Patriot Mobile. They'll give you up to $500 to switch each line. Okay, that's great. They'll give you a free month's worth of service when you switch. Why do I want you to switch? Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They believe in the things that we believe in. AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. They don't. AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, they're pushing nonsense on the American people. They support crazy, wacky leftist causes, not Patriot Mobile. If you're with the big three cell phone companies, you are supporting the left. Not if you're with Patriot Mobile. With Patriot Mobile, you're supporting the right, the funding of this program in many respects, and others like it. Donate to causes like Folds of Honor, a National Rifle Association, anti-Planned Parenthood groups, Right to Life groups. All these things that are important to us, Patriot Mobile is behind, including backing conservative school board candidates, getting involved in local elections where it really matters. So again, patriotmobile.com/Grant, 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code GRANT for that free month service. Promo code GRANT. 972-PATRIOT. You tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you. Don't wait any longer, okay? Please. All right. With that, I want to play this idea of free speech. And it came up on CNN. And Scott Jennings does such a great job responding to those on the left. Listen.
Free speech, which we already know that people are being deported on the basis of not being able to have certain types of speech that this administration doesn't like. I mean, those are things that are happening right now in this country. You're talking about Europe, but that's happening here.
Yeah, well, I would remind you that over the course of the last several years, the left in this country has undertaken a massive effort to suppress the speech of conservatives. And to this day, the message from the left is
I think
if you don't say what we like, we will engage in violent acts against you.
I'll let you in, Dan, in a second, but look.
No, she needs to just shut her mouth. She's awful, and thank God CNN has Scott Jennings. In fact, I would like to thank CNN for bringing a guy like Scott Jennings on, because for a long time they didn't let him speak. You know, he's been at CNN a long time. Only up until the last year or so do we even know that he existed there. He's been there a long time. It's only within the last year, I think, when it became clear that President Trump was going to win, did they bring him on, because they knew their ratings were so bad they had to do something to show the American people, hey, listen, okay, this will be fine. Now, you want to see what we're up against when it comes to the left? I thought this was hilarious. This guy goes to one of these Elon Musk protests. This weekend, they were all over the country. There were some big ones, and I mean really big ones. Some in D.C., out in L.A., Dallas had them. Wait till you see what he did. It's pretty hilarious. And you see that even the old ladies kind of resort to violence.
Don't touch people. Come on. Keep your hands to yourself. Keep your hands. Why are you always go to violence and king cheese Teslas and throwing Molotov cocktails? Why do you always have to get violent? Peaceful protest.
Retard fucking.
Peaceful protest. Peaceful protest. Peaceful protest. Peaceful.
Oh my Lord. This guy's great. Oh, God. Nazis we all are for buying Tesla. I told you, I just bought my son a Tesla. And I'm glad I did. By the way, the car is freaking fabulous, man. I never thought in a million years I'd own a Tesla. In fact, 2.5 years ago, I did a video. It's got over 1 million views. Said, I'll never own one of these things. It is amazing what the left can push me to do in defense of freedom and those who embrace it. Elon, I got your back. Many Americans do. Many Americans don't, though. I don't know if you heard about Brandon Tatum was at a Turning Point USA event in UC Davis. And it did not go well. I aired this on the Real America's Voice show. I'm going to play it for you. And we interview the president of TPUSA UC Davis to explain what went down here. Just watch this. These folks are anti-freedom radicals that hate the idea of Turning Point USA. They upend the place. My buddy Brandon Tatum was there. I work with him over at Salem Radio. He was at this event. Take a look at this video with Brandon Tatum. He's trying to save the place. You're going to see him in the red hat come up here in just a second. And Brandon's got to try to stop them from destroying the place. Just take a look. Look at this. These people are crazy. And that's Brandon in the red baseball cap. Remember, he was a former police officer. You don't want to tussle with that guy. Well, I want to bring in now a political science major at UC Davis. I feel sorry for him about that, honestly. He's co-chair of Turning Point USA's chapter there. I don't feel sorry for him about that. It's great work. Jackson Bonner is with us. Jackson, welcome to the program. I don't mean to make fun of the political science at UC Davis, but I can only imagine what you face on a daily basis, Jackson.
Oh my gosh, if only I can share everything that happens on a daily basis, Grant.
Well, one day I'll get you back and we should do that because I bet it would be great. But why don't you take me through what happened at your event here? I mean, the video says 1,000 words, but take me through what happened.
Of course, Grant. So yesterday, we, Turning Point USA at Davis, attempted to host Brandon Tatum, who, like you said beforehand, is a former police officer. And we thought it would be good to have him discuss about maybe race in America or Christian values, or maybe talk about even law enforcement in America. And as we were gearing up and setting up our tent and everything, even before Brandon was even there, about 30 or so masked Antifa protesters came up and immediately turned to violence, assaulting us and trampling over our table. They injured a few of our students and they proceeded to attack a few of our supporters. And while this was all going on, shockingly, there were 6 or so campus police officers standing watch, and they did not intervene during all of this altercation. And as far as I'm aware, no arrests were made and no accountability was enforced. And after this altercation, we chatted with student affairs and the campus police as they heavily pressured us to cancel our event. But we were not going to allow these leftist lunatics to cancel open dialogue and free speech on a college campus.
Jackson, I want everyone at home to consider this. The police and administration want you to cancel your event, which would be bowing down to violent, as you say, lunatics. They're the ones that should have their event canceled, meaning, you know what, you arrest them. They don't have an event if they're in jail, and the police did nothing. Do they say anything to you about why they do nothing when clearly laws are being broken right before their eyes?
Well, Grant, they did tell us beforehand that they would be protecting us and everything. They told us they would give us an evacuation plan if things got out of hand. And as this altercation happened, we didn't see that. You can hear in the video, we're calling out for the police, for the cops. They're right next to us. And then we're left to our own devices. As far as I know, like I said before, no arrests have been made, but UC Davis and the chancellor were quick to put out a statement condoning the violence. But that doesn't matter much to us. Actions speak louder than words. We would like the university to prevent future outside terror organizations like Antifa from ever entering our campuses and arresting those who incited this violence yesterday.
Let me ask you one last question. I've seen plenty of Turning Point USA events, like Brandon, Charlie Kirk does radio where I do radio at Salem Media. Always willing to answer questions, have a dialogue. It's not like you're shutting anybody down at these events, are you?
No, never. We always try to keep an open and honest dialogue with everyone, no matter how hateful the language is spewed onto us. He's a great guy. It was one of my first times meeting with him personally. And even though there were about 30 or so Antifa protesters against us, Brandon Tatum talked to us and he said, hey, I'm going to keep you guys safe. Even though it was one of him and 30 of them, we felt safe underneath his watch. So we greatly appreciate him standing up for us.
I promise you, if there's a guy you're going to feel safe next to, Brandon Tatum's one of them. And I'll tell you what, Jackson Bonner, as the TPUSA chapter co-chair out at UC Davis, I appreciate you standing firm. I appreciate you coming on a program like this, being unafraid of the blowback that you're going to get from liberals on your campus. It's voices like yours from young people that will continue to move this country in the right direction. And I'm grateful for you, my friend. So thank you. Keep up the good work out there. And thanks for sharing your story today.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you for having me on your show today.
All right. It's great to have young people like that on the scene, working to spread the message. And that's what Turning Point USA is all about. My buddy Charlie Kirk, what a hell of an organization. He has a show on Real America's Voice with me, which Real America's Voice show, don't forget, tonight. We're going to have Jack Brewer on talking more about this situation up in Frisco, Texas with that stabbing. We got a good show tonight for you. So please tune in to that, 7 p.m. Eastern time on Real America's Voice. But before I let you go, you know about my friends over at the Wellness Company. I tell you this all the time. Now with the tariffs, what does this mean for prescription medications? We get so many of them from China. So what I want you to do is make sure you get one of these kits that, God forbid, we went into a shortage. You have the most important prescription medications on hand, including ivermectin in here, and a whole slew of other antibiotics, antiparasitics, antivirals in here. This is a great kit to have. It's about being prepared and ready for anything. So ammo, food, water, power supply, and yes, prescription medications. TWC.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off, okay? Do this today. You don't want to wait, all right? You can save a life by having one of these kits. TWC.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT for 10% off, and I promise you'll be way better off for it. All right, coming up on the Real America's Voice show tonight, I told you we will have and be talking to Jack Brewer. My Lord, what is going on with me? Jack Brewer tonight. Congressman Ruley from California will be on talking about the tariffs and what this means for the steel industry in Ohio from where he is. Good news on that front, and a whole slew of other issues to talk about. So be there or be square. That's going to do it for us today. God bless all of you. Stinchfield's Army rolls. Thanks for watching, folks.